What we're going to look at now is word formulas, and then I'm going to give you a couple tips and tricks on how to make balancing a little bit easier. So what we start with is a word formula. You'll notice that everything is written out in words, and if we read it, sodium metal reacts with chlorine gas to form sodium chloride. All we're going to do is we're going to take each set of words and turn them into their formula counterparts. So sodium is Na, so we would write Na. Reacts with is a plus sign. You could also use adds to, combines with, all of those things would indicate a plus sign. Chlorine gas is Cl. And then if you remember, chlorine is diatomic, so it's one of the ones we have starred on our periodic table, so we have to make sure that we add our 2. Okay, so Cl2. To form is an arrow, sodium chloride. Now here's where you have to check those charges. So sodium, remember, has a plus charge, and chlorine has a negative charge. But the ratio between them would be 1 to 1. So you would get NaCl, 1 sodium and 1 chlorine. Now the next thing that we get to do with word formulas is write down what state everything is in. So sodium metal would be a solid, so we would use an S to indicate that it's a solid. Chlorine, it tells us, is a gas, so we're going to use the G to show that it's a gas. We're making sodium chloride, and that is table salt, and that is a solid. So you'll put the little S in parentheses there to show that it's a solid. At this point, we're just going to balance it. Now, because chlorine is diatomic and there's a 2, I need to make sure that I have 2 on the other side of the equation. So I'm going to put a 2 in front of the sodium chloride. Because I put that 2 there, I changed my sodiums to 2, so I'm going to add 2 on the other side as well. Now one more thing I want you to look at is this chart. At the bottom, I put the symbols there. So S is a solid, L is a liquid, G would be for a gas, and AQ means that you dissolved it in water. So aqueous is what it stands for. Last thing we're going to talk about are some tips and tricks. First thing, to make this easier for you, is always double check and make sure that if your element is alone and it's diatomic, that you have 2 of them. Oxygen, for example, when by itself is always O2, nitrogen is always N2, etc. Next thing is keep polyatomic ions together to make balancing easier. So if you have a PO4, keep it as a group. An OH, keep it as a group. It makes balancing 10 times easier than trying to look at P's and O's separately. Water, or H2O, can also be written as HOH. It will make balancing easier from time to time if you write it that way. And if an element is by itself, balance it last. Remember that you can add any number in front of that element to make it whatever you want, so just leave it alone till the end and save your eraser.